Happy day, everybody. I'm Daniel Braffman, Holistic Health and Performance Coach, and talking today about Maxwell Maltz's Psychocybernetics, Chapter 12, Do-It-Yourself Tranquilizers that Bring Peace of Mind. I have to say, after the last chapter of taking that kind of double week to sort through the type of work that was suggested in the book, pretty happy to get into this space. I actually really enjoyed this week. It really lines up with a lot of stuff that I'm personally doing anyway. So just to share you what I mean about that, I've taken on a much more regular sort of directed meditation practice. And I see now where, this still lines up with what we're doing, and all the different ways that we're taking care of ourselves. So that's kind of, has been really helpful. The do-it-yourself tranquilizers that bring peace of mind. So this is one of the benefits of doing meditation. So this is a cool chapter. I love the fact that it's something you can do. I'm a pretty kind of fidgety guy. I like to be busy. I like to do things. And so sometimes it's easier for me, at least on a simple level around that to be given an assignment that involves doing something versus just being. That's a hard assignment for me. I know it's a hard assignment for a lot of people. And so that's why we took 2 weeks in the just being and figure out what kind of garbage is in the is in the system, the guidance system. That's the guidance system, just like any other information sort of network, is going to be garbage in, garbage out. And this week they give ways to deal with the garbage out. So definitely, nothing in here encourages us to just ignore it. But at the same time, when we know that we're having experiences that are not totally real, we can practice before we're in those situations so that when we are and we're kind of inclined to be triggered, we get these little signals that sort of set us off. This is a great practice. This is a great way to sort of calm the self. It doesn't solve any problems other than the agitation. And sometimes that's really the only problem that needs to be solved here. That's, I think, a really important thing to remember. Sometimes the only problem that you're having in the moment is that you're agitated. And so this chapter gives us lots of ways of looking at that. And it does address the fact that you do need to get rid of the bad programming. You do need to get rid of, at least mitigate the effectiveness, the charge that our buttons carry. I don't use the same language here specifically that was used in the book, but where we're oversensitive to things. Those are difficult places for everybody that I know, certainly for me. And frankly, those are the places that the people that know us best, our families, they sort of ride our buttons. We keep them exposed all the time to them, and they trigger us all the time. But also people that we tend to be close with after a while. It's just something that, we have to learn to be better at not wasting time, being upset about things that really the only thing that's really the bother in the moment is that we're agitated. So kind of another stop, look, and listen moment in all of the lessons of fixing our writing mechanisms and our servo mechanism that keeps us on track for whatever it is that we're trying to do, be, or have, that involve planning and behaviors. That's what we're talking about here. And, the over response is a bad habit. It can be cured. That's specifically what he says in the book. Over response is a bad habit that can be cured. So how do we change habits? We change habits, unfortunately. Undoing of a habit is a lot more involved in terms of dedication, time, um, than forming a new habit. We know that, practicing something or making, something a repetitive event, generally over, we like to say 21 days, starts to generate a groove. But once that groove is there and you're trying to polish it out of your system, which is kind of a great metaphor for what we're trying to do when we have a bad habit, it takes a lot. I think I'm trying to remember what I was taught in the Czech system. When you learn an exercise, it takes something like 700 repetitions, good repetitions, to really get in the groove and do the movement, very, very well without having to think about it. But it takes something like 10 times that many, maybe 20 times that many repetitions if you've learned how to do something wrong to repattern. So, we all have to kind of be doing both at the same time. But the first thing that we have to remember, and this is what this chapter is all about, is to not be, over responsive to things, to not overreact to things, especially when, if you practice, as I've been teaching, the stop, look, and listen, what's happening right now? What am I experiencing? That usually is all that needs to happen. The truth is that most of what we tend to want to take care of doesn't need to be managed. But what does need to be managed is our own reactivity, our own inner sort of buttons that start sparking and agitating us. So let's just think about this, and then just an invitation to think about this in a way is to say, is what I'm experiencing right now just me? And if it is, can I contain it? What can I do in practice? I can make up visualizations in practice. I can see myself in situations in practice that would normally trigger me, and I would have a super, agitated response. But I'm going to visualize myself in that space, having all of these distractions and all of these energy, systems that are coming at my buttons. I'm going to just be dispassionate for a moment so that I can assess what's going on around me, because when we're in this overly agitated state, we can't really tend to what's really happening. I mean, it's either we can be present and we can see what's happening, or we can be present with what's happening to us, which is a very, very important, distinction in perspective. But what's happening and what's happening to us are not the same thing. What's happening to us is perceptual, and we have some control over that. What's happening is just happening, and we're just in it and part of it, and and it's part of the entanglement. But anyway, I love the fact that doing nothing is the proper response to an unreal problem. Most of the problems that we have, when we really drill down and ask ourselves 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, is that so, are unreal problems. And this chapter excites me so much because it gives us so many different ways to just check into our own plasticity, to remold and remodel the networks. And again, this gives us an opportunity to find areas in our life where we can remove friction, where we can be stronger, where we're weak, where we can be actually, this is really super, super resiliency oriented. Our resiliency is really the opposite of reactivity. Totally the opposite. And we don't, we're not rigid so we don't shatter, and we're not so loosey-goosey that we just fall apart. But, resiliency is a perfect balance of, being present and being, within yourself. and just learning to allow and knowing that, we don't need to put that much energy into a system that's already kind of running itself. That's what we're supposed to be tweaking, is a system that runs itself. So all of our really intention in all of the psychocybernetics is just to go, yeah, okay, got it. Now, there's a lot of crappy information in that servo mechanism, and so, what are the different ways we're going to work on this? So I'm going to leave just by repeating that last little bit here, saying, doing nothing is a proper response to an unreal problem. 90% of our problems are unreal, so let's get real with that and do nothing until we know we have to do something. Peace out, everybody. Thank you.